You are not hard to love. You are just loving people who didn't know what love really means. And the moment you realize that, you'll stop chasing, stop begging, and start rising. Let them go. Let them walk. Let them choose the exit. And don't you dare block the door. Because here's the truth. Anyone who can leave you should. Their absence is not your loss. It's your liberation. You were never meant to shrink just to be held. You were meant to rise, even if it means rising alone. You've been fighting for people who wouldn't lift a finger for you. You stayed up at night, replaying conversations, wondering what you did wrong, why they changed, why it suddenly felt so cold. But hear this, people don't leave because you lack something. They leave because they couldn't handle everything you are, Ray. You gave your heart, your time, your energy, and in return, you got confusion, silence, or worse, manipulation dressed as affection. That's not love. That's emotional chaos. And deep down, you know it. You know when someone isn't good for your soul. You feel it in your body, in your chest, in the way you flinch at their messages. Yet you stay, hoping it'll shift, hoping if you just hold on a little longer, they'll wake up and love you the way you deserve. But holding on to what's breaking you is self-destruction in slow motion. Every time you tolerate being treated like a second option, you send a message to yourself that your worth is negotiable. And it's not. You were not made to be loved halfway. You were not built to survive on scraps of attention and empty apologies. Stop romanticizing potential. Potential doesn't love you. Potential doesn't show up when you need it. Potential keeps you stuck in cycles, believing that maybe, just maybe, if you wait long enough, things will change. But if someone has to hurt you in order to stay in your life, that is not love. That is not love. That is fear. Fear. That is you settling for survival when you deserve peace. People who love you don't leave you guessing. They don't give you a million mixed signals and expect you to translate them into devotion. They show up. They choose you consistently. Not when it's convenient. Not when they're bored. Not when they feel like it. And if you have to chase, convince, or beg, stop. Let them go. Because the more you chase someone who's not meant for you, the more you lose pieces of yourself in the process and the person you're becoming. That person is worth protecting. That person doesn't deserve to be buried under someone else's inability to grow. Sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is ignore the signs. Far. You know the ones. The constant anxiety, the disrespect, the way they invalidate your feelings, how your energy drops the moment their name appears on your phone. That's your soul warning you. You're not just too sensitive. You're awake. You're aware. And you're tired. Tired of explaining yourself. Tired of being misunderstood. Tired of giving chances to people who don't change. That exhaustion? That's the breaking point. And breaking isn't always bad. Sometimes you have to break to rebuild. Stronger, clearer, louder. Stop asking why they treated you that way. Ask why you kept allowing it. Not because you're weak, but because you were raised to believe love is sacrifice. And yes, love requires effort, but it should never cost your peace. Never cost your dignity. Never force you to dim your light just to be tolerated. You are not hard to love. You are just unwilling to be small anymore. Boom! And that's powerful. That's growth. That's what letting go really means. It means choosing yourself even when it hurts. It means walking away, not because you stopped caring, but because you finally started caring about yourself. Letting go doesn't mean you failed. It doesn't mean you failed. It means you listened to your intuition, to your body, to the truth you tried to ignore for too long. It means you chose healing over chaos, clarity over confusion, real love over emotional crumbs. You stopped clinging to dead weight and made room for your own freedom. And in that space, in that sacred, painful, beautiful space, you begin to rise, not as someone's partner, not as someone's option, but as your own home. Strong, strong, unshaken, not alone. That word used to scare you, didn't it? It sounded like silence, like emptiness, like everyone else had someone, except you. But being alone isn't a punishment, it's a mirror. It reflects exactly who you are when no one is watching, when no one's opinion clouds your choices, when it's just you and your truth. And the truth is, most people don't really fear loneliness. They fear meeting themselves in the silence. Because once the distractions fall away, the real work begins. The healing starts. The noise stops. And that's where transformation lives, not in the chaos of others, but in the calm you create for yourself. The world constantly tells you to stay busy, stay connected, stay plugged in. It teaches you to chase validation from likes, messages, and attention. But all that noise keeps you from the only voice that truly matters, your own. When you learn to sit in silence, you start to hear things you were never taught to listen for. You hear your inner voice whisper, what do you really want? You hear your intuition scream when something's not right. And in that quiet, you start to reclaim the parts of you that got lost in people pleasing, in pretending, in constantly trying to fit in. Being alone gives you clarity. And clarity, that's the beginning of freedom. You don't have to apologize for needing space. You don't have to explain why you'd rather be alone than surrounded by energy that drains you. Alone time is not isolation. It's alignment. It's the pause that allows you to breathe, reset, and rise. When you're constantly surrounded by others, especially the wrong ones, their noise becomes your narrative. But when you step back, you get to ask, is this who I really am? Is this the life I really want? And the moment those answers come, everything changes. Because once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. And the truth is, your peace is worth protecting, even if that means protecting it alone. Alone is where the real growth happens. It's where you learn your boundaries, your standards, your non-negotiables. It's where you figure out what love actually feels like. Your version of it, not the one you were conditioned to accept. When you're alone, you don't have to compromise. You don't have to adjust your soul to fit into someone else's mold. You get to dream louder. You get to take up space. You get to become everything you once dimmed down to make others comfortable. Alone doesn't limit you, it frees you. It gives you room to evolve without needing permission. Being alone is not about being against love or connection. It's about never settling again. It's about never confusing attention with affection. It's about learning to be your own source of happiness, so no one else holds that power over you. Because when you know how to be happy alone, relationships become a choice. not a crutch. You stop choosing people out of fear. You stop begging for love that feels more like survival. You walk differently. Huh? Choose differently. And most of all, you know that your solitude isn't empty. It's sacred. That's what no one tells you. No one tells you happiness alone is a superpower. It means you've tasted your own energy and realized it's enough. You've stopped needing others to validate your existence. You've stopped waiting for someone to come save you. Because you've become the hero of your own story. You found joy. You found presence. You learned how to celebrate yourself without needing a witness. And that's when the world shifts. That's when your energy becomes magnetic. Not because you're desperate, but because you're whole. And wholeness attracts everything meant for you. From the time you were young, you were fed a narrative that you need someone to complete you. Fairy tales, movies, songs, even people you trusted all told you the same lie, that your happiness lives in the hands of someone else. And so, you grew up searching for the one, for the other half, for that person who would finally make you feel whole. Whole. But that search came with a cost. It made you ignore your own voice. It made you silence your own needs. It made you stay in situations that felt wrong, just because they looked right. But the truth is, you were never missing anything. You were never incomplete. You were whole the entire time. You just weren't told that wholeness is something you build, not something someone else gives you. The fear of being alone wasn't born in your heart, it was planted. Society teaches you that being alone is a failure, that if you're single, you're lacking, and if you're independent, you must be cold. But that fear is manufactured. It's designed to keep you dependent, to keep you doubting yourself, to keep you in relationships and roles that don't serve your soul. But now you know better. Being alone is not a reflection of your worth. It's a declaration of your strength. It means you've stopped choosing people just to avoid silence. It means you'd rather face yourself than lose yourself in someone else. That, that, that's evolution. It's time to stop making yourself small so others feel big. You don't owe anyone your compromise. You don't have to stay in spaces where your power is seen as a threat. When you stop fearing solitude, you start reclaiming your life. You start realizing that love isn't supposed to hurt or drain or confuse you. Real love empowers, but it starts with you. You can't attract love that respects you if you don't first respect yourself. That means setting boundaries. That means saying no without guilt. That means walking away from anything, anyone that costs your peace. Not because you're heartless, but because you finally found your value. And when you stop fearing being alone, your standards change. You no longer tolerate bare minimum energy. You no longer settle for situationships and emotional breadcrumbs. You no longer entertain anyone who treats you like you're replaceable. Why? Because you've seen what peace feels like. You've experienced the beauty of your own company. And now, anything that feels less than aligned isn't even tempting. Because healing taught you what chaos used to hide, that your time, your energy, your love is sacred, and not everyone deserves access to it. And the world may call you eat too much when you stop settling. but let them be too bold, too clear, too honest. Because you weren't put on this earth to play small or keep quiet. You are allowed to want deep, loyal, soul level love. But you're not required to suffer for it. You're not required to compromise your worth for companionship. You don't need to be saved. You don't need to be fixed. You need to be honored. And the first person who should do that is you. The moment you realize that, you stop chasing love and start becoming it. You know the signs. You felt them in your chest, in your gut, in the heaviness that settles when you're around certain people. The way your energy dips when they speak. The way your spirit tightens, your smile fades, your light dims. But still, you stay. You explain it away. You call it loyalty, call it love, call it just a phase. But what you're really doing is ignoring the truth your soul is begging you to hear. You are not meant to stay in places that drain you. And the longer you ignore that internal warning, the louder the damage becomes. Silence is not always golden. Sometimes silence is a scream. You weren't made to endure emotional chaos just because you once cared. Love does not mean suffering. Connection does not mean control. And just because someone was once good to you doesn't mean they're still good for you. People change, and sometimes they stop growing. Sometimes they get stuck in patterns that no longer align with your future, and you can't keep people into your destiny who are committed to their dysfunction. The truth? Not everyone is meant to go where you're going. And if you keep choosing familiarity over peace, you'll stay stuck in a version of yourself you've already outgrown. There's a kind of pain that comes from pretending everything is okay, from forcing smiles, from forcing smiles, from biting your tongue, from carrying the emotional weight of a connection that's already expired. It's the kind of pain that doesn't leave bruises, but it drains your soul, and over time, it becomes normal. That's the danger. You get used walking on eggshells. You get used to walking on eggshells. You get used to not being heard, to being the one who always understands, always forgives, always holds things together. But here's the wake-up call. It's not your job to fix what someone else refuses to face. You cannot heal people who are comfortable hurting you. You owe yourself more than just survival. You owe yourself truth. You owe yourself peace that isn't conditional. And peace won't come if you keep ignoring the red flags just because the memories were once beautiful. You can honor what someone meant to you without allowing them to keep breaking you. You can be grateful for the chapter while still closing the book. Staying where you don't feel seen, heard, or valued is not love. It's fear. Fear of being alone. Fear of starting over. Fear of the unknown. But what you fear most might just be where your freedom lives. Every time you choose to silence your instincts for the sake of another person's comfort, you abandon yourself. And self-abandonment always comes with a cost. Your joy, your confidence, your identity. You can't keep pouring into people who leave you empty. Leave you empty. You can't keep sacrificing your mental and emotional health for someone who doesn't even notice the weight you're carrying. It's not love if it breaks your spirit. It's not loyalty if it costs your peace. And it's not your responsibility to shrink for people who were never meant to hold your light. You already know what's not right for you. You already feel it. The question is, are you ready to honor it? Are you ready to stop betraying yourself for the illusion of connection? Because here's the truth no one tells you. Your body keeps the score. Your nervous system remembers. And the longer you stay where you don't belong, the more you'll forget what peace even feels like. But once you remember, once you taste what real alignment feels like, you'll never tolerate anything less again. Your intuition is not a weakness. It's your guide. And it's been trying to save you this entire time. That they call you too much because you finally stopped playing small. Because you started saying no without explaining. Because you began showing up for yourself with the same intensity you once gave to others. And that makes people uncomfortable, especially those who benefited from your silence. But hear this, you are not here to be palatable. Come for someone else's comfort. Your voice, your presence, your power, they were never meant to be dimmed. So let them call you too much. It only proves you stopped being less for people who were never enough. You once measured your worth by how easy you were to love, how little space you took up, how willing you were to compromise. That attention without effort is a distraction. And that connection without consistency is just confusion wearing a mask. When you love yourself, the bar rises. Suddenly, breadcrumb love doesn't taste sweet anymore. Suddenly, late replies, vague words, and lukewarm energy don't excite you. Because you've evolved. And with evolution comes discernment. You've come too far to entertain what drains you. Your energy is your currency, and not everyone deserves access to it. When you understand the value of your presence, you stop showing up for people who never ask how you're doing. You stop begging to be chosen. You stop twisting yourself into someone else's ideal. Why? Because you've tasted solitude and you've seen what it feels like to choose yourself. And once that happens, everything changes. You start walking away from anything that doesn't pour back into you, not out of bitterness, but out of self-respect. Your standards are no longer a suggestion, they are a boundary. You don't lower the bar just because someone else refuses to grow. You don't explain your worth, you live it, you embody it. And people will either rise to meet you or quietly exit your life. It's not arrogance. That's alignment. When you respect yourself, you don't chase, you attract. You don't force, you flow. You no longer need to prove your value. The right people will recognize it, and the wrong ones, let them go. You're not here to convince anyone of your light. You're here to shine. You've outgrown one-sided love. You've outgrown situationships and confusion and mixed signals. You've outgrown conversations that leave you anxious and people who make you feel like too much one minute and not enough the next. You're no longer interested in guessing games. You want depth. You want effort. You want presence. You want presence. Because you've done the inner work. You've healed. You've cried through the nights of feeling alone. You've rebuilt your confidence from the ground up. And now, peace is your priority. And anyone, that threatens that peace, you release it. You are not hard to love. You're just no longer available for anything less than real. You're no longer interested in relationships that require you to dim down just to be tolerated. because you've learned the difference between chemistry and compatibility, between attraction and alignment, between attention and devotion. And now, you choose with clarity. You love with intention. You live with conviction. Because your standards aren't walls, they're doors. And only those who are truly ready will walk through them. The rest, let them stay outside. You've built too much peace to open the door for chaos again. Letting go isn't weakness, it's power. It's the kind of power that doesn't scream or beg or chase. It's the quiet decision to stop trying to hold together something that was never meant to last. It's looking at what you once thought you couldn't live without and realizing you can. And not only can you live without it, you're better without it. We're taught to cling, to fight, to fix. But sometimes the bravest thing you can do is release. Release the person, the hope, the fantasy. Let it all fall away. Not because you stopped caring, but because you finally started caring about yourself. People will tell you to forgive and forget, to be the bigger person. But being the bigger person doesn't mean making yourself small. It doesn't mean keeping toxic people in your life just because they once made you smile. Letting go is not about hate. It's about healing. It's about closing the door on what kept wounding you. It's saying, I love me more. Not in an arrogant way, but in a protective, sacred, unshakable way. Because peace isn't found in the arms of someone who confuses you. It's found in the decision to never be confused again. You don't have to wait for closure to move on. Sometimes the apology never comes. Sometimes the explanation never arrives. And that's okay. You don't need permission to heal. You don't need anyone else to agree with your truth. What happened, happened. What they did, they did. You get to choose how the story ends. You get to close the book, even if they're still stuck on the last chapter. That's the kind of liberation they don't teach you. How to free yourself without an audience. How to move on with grace, even when the ending was messy. When you let go, you make space for clarity, for peace, for the next version of you to rise. Holding on to something that's already falling apart doesn't keep it together. It just delays your healing. Letting go means trusting that the universe will fill the space with something better. Not better in the sense of someone more perfect. Better in the sense of right. Right energy. Right alignment. Right love. The kind of love that doesn't confuse you. The kind of connection that feels like a mirror, not a maze. But first, you have to clear the clutter. You have to make room. Letting go also means letting go of the version of you who stayed too long, who gave too much, who doubted herself for the sake of someone else's comfort. That version of you was trying her best. She didn't know any better. But you do now. You've grown. You've awakened. And now it's time to stop punishing yourself for the things you allowed while you were still learning. This is transformation. You are not that person anymore. And it's okay to outgrow people, patterns, even pieces of your past self. You are not selfish for choosing peace. You are not cold for choosing distance. You are not heartless for not returning to what broke you. That's strength. That's evolution. And as you continue to release what no longer serves you, you'll notice something extraordinary. Your energy returns. Your joy expands. Your clarity sharpens. You begin to glow differently. Because now, your hands aren't full of what hurt you. They're open, free, ready. And in that openness, everything you truly deserve begins to flow in. Not because you chased it, but because you made space for it. So now, you stand at a crossroads with a choice that will define the rest of your life. Keep holding on to what hurts, or finally choose you. Not the version of you that settles, doubts, or stays out of fear, but the version that rises, that leads, that walks forward without needing closure, applause, or permission. You've been enough this whole time. You just forgot. Let this be the moment you remember. The moment you release what's behind you and step fully into your power, you don't need anyone to complete you. You are the home, the peace, the love you've been searching for. And from this day forward, you don't just survive, you thrive. You thrive, alone if necessary, empowered always. Let the world misjudge your solitude. Let them whisper that you're too independent. Let them wonder why you're so content without a ring, a label, or a hand to hold. What they don't see is that you've built something no one can take away, inner peace. You've rewritten the narrative. You've stopped waiting to be chosen and started choosing yourself. That's not loneliness. That's liberation. And from that space, you'll attract people who don't complete you, but celebrate you. No, you're not looking for someone to fill the gaps. You're looking for someone who respects that there are none.